Okay, let's talk about kids and fasting. So, Dr. Mindy here, and I feel like I have to leave a video for you all on kids and fasting because we've been getting so many questions about it in my resetter group. So, I wanted to explain to you my thoughts on kids and fasting, what I've done with my children on kids and fasting, and how you can teach these amazing principles to your kids, like fasting and keto, but really keep their mindset around health and food in a really positive, moving in a really positive direction. So, yes, when we're looking at the research on fasting, it's incredible. And it lowers, if you're new to understanding fasting, it will lower inflammation. It will spit out ketones that will help with brain power. It's amazing for growth hormone and detoxing, all those things. And that would happen in a kid's body as well. The problem that we have is mindset around food. So even though the benefits are great for kids, we have to protect their mindset around food. So my general recommendation is if you have younger kids, that you don't all of a sudden say, hey, we're skipping breakfast, the whole family's intermittent fasting. We don't go, if they're under 13, we definitely wouldn't, I wouldn't recommend that. But if they naturally do not want to eat breakfast, I would really encourage you to teach them how to tap into what their body naturally wants to eat. So I think one of the major problems that we have with food is that we learn to eat because it was 8 a.m. or it's noon or it's dinner time. And so we eat because society says this is when you eat. And what I see when we're working with people later in their later life or in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they start fasting, they're trying to tap into their own internal clock that they never well developed in the first place. So if you have a kid under 0 to 13, I would really encourage you to follow their lead when they're hungry. Now, if your kids, I have two, well, my oldest is going to be 19 in a week, and my youngest is 16. I know that there was a turning point at which if they didn't eat, they were going to turn into little monsters. And that was when they were younger. So you guys know your kids. Maybe right before that turning point, you would get them some food. But what you don't want to do is teach them it's breakfast, you need to eat. And instead, let's start to have conversations from 0 to 13, have more conversations about, are you hungry? And giving them an innate sense of when their body needs food. So that's my first thing. After 13, okay, let me talk a little bit about the teenage mind when it comes to food and dieting. So this is what I tell my patients. In my house, we never talk about weight. We talk about food all the time. We talk about fasting all the time. My kids know when my husband and I are fasting. That's very, very common. But I never say, I'm fasting to drop weight. I never say, oh my gosh, I dropped 20 pounds or whatever. We never talk about weight at all. So I talk about health. I really want my kids to focus on health. So if you have teenagers in the house, I really encourage you to model a healthy fasting, keto, diet variation lifestyle, but not necessarily talk about it to them. I mean, you can talk about it, but you don't necessarily want to be like, oh, you should try this. Especially in those teenage years, because you want their mindset to be thinking that food is a source of health, fasting can be health. You want them to come to you because they see you as an expert in those two things. I would never tell a 14, 15, 16-year-old you need to skip breakfast because intermittent fasting will help you. I would never recommend you do that. So with my kids, my daughter's 19, she's a freshman in college. We didn't really talk about intermittent fasting for her until the year before she went off to college. So she was a senior in high school, and she actually came to us and said, I'm thinking about the dorm food. I'm wondering if maybe it was when she went to go pick out her meal plan. She said, I'm wondering if maybe I should look at just 2 meals a day because then I can intermittent fast in the morning. And my response to her was, have you tried intermittent fasting? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, try it and see what you think of it. Sure enough, it has been so helpful for her going into college, leaving a home that had amazing food and then going into dorm food. Fasting has been pivotal for her and her keeping her health, keeping in shape, like everything that she to plop from one environment into the next has been really great. But we waited for her to come to us. So is it safe for a teenager to intermittent fast? Absolutely. Absolutely. My son, who's 16, he doesn't eat breakfast, but he needs food by the time about 10 a.m. So he has a strategy around eating at 10 a.m. So my bottom line is you don't force fasting on kids. You work with them, you model it, and you follow their lead on it. So I would never make my kids fast. If I thought my kids had any kind of body image, I definitely wouldn't be talking about fasting. But I would model it. If you can't get your kids to do something that you're not doing. Your kids aren't going to do what you say, they're going to do what you do. So if you're fasting, if you're doing keto, great, you can model it. And when they're ready for that next level with fasting, they'll come to you. So, okay, I hope that helps. If you want more information on fasting, just put Resetter in the comment. We'll invite you to my Resetter group. I am doing more videos on fasting, so if you love this, just hit subscribe to my channel, and you'll see I'm bringing you all the science and all the fasting, and I'm merging those together so you guys are really armed with information. So, hope that helps.